What's up, motherfuckers? I'm the FIDE Master Miguel Ruiz Buendia. In today's video, I'm going to show us how to play the Carslbad Endgame, who is a endgame who used to be so common to reach when you are playing the Carslbad with white. Is when black plays c6 and then bishop f5, and you play queen f3 and then take on f6. This position has reached in many Grandmaster games, including Carlsen games, and was so common to reach this endgame. So, okay, I need to show us so fast the opening. That's why you can reach the card for the game. And okay, I'm going to focus in this position, and I'm going to show us a victory of Alexander Donchenko in the World Cup, in the first round of the World Cup against a master of Nigeria, Igiga Bomo Lobet. Okay, let's understand this endgame first. Here, while black advantage is the bishop pair. This is more or less clear that this is the black advantage. And white advantage is principally this double pawns. Okay, this is more or less logical everything. This one is the sorry. Fuck. Ah, oh, this collapses. Completely collapsed. Okay. Black advantage is the bishop pair and white advantage is the black double pawns. Apart, white has the good bishop because white has the good bishop because he has his central pawns in dark squares and the light square and the bishop in the opposite square. So, okay, first thing that white is going to do in this hanging is h4. Then now, threatening h5 and provoking h5. Okay, why white include that? Because now the h5 pawn is going to be weak in the future. Maybe now not, because now black is defending with two pieces and white is not attacking. But later one day, this pawn will be weak after some, when the knight comes here and the bishop on e2 or something like that, one day this pawn could be weak. The principal plan of white is not going to be attack this pawn, but later this pawn could be weak one day. And the h4 pawn is never going to be weak because this pawn always can be defended by c3. So the h4 pawn is never going to be weak and the h5 pawn will be weak one day. So for that reason is why white include the move h4 and h5. And now let's see who is going to be the white plan to still improving the position. Now Donchenko play king d2, placing better his king, connecting his rooks. The rooks are connecting now. And white plan is going to be place a knight on f4 and the bishop on d3 to put pressure into the g6 bishop. Just the idea is trade the black the black bishop pair, but without improve the black pawn structure. So we want to trade the g6 bishop, but without allow that black recapture f the g6. So to show us an example, bishop d6, bishop d3. If here black capture on d3, this benefit us so much. That's what white wants. Because now the h5 pawn is going to be weak, the f5 square is weak, the knights are landing on f3, on f4, on f5, and black have lost his advantage, who is the bishop pair. So black have lost the advantage of the bishop pair, and now white have the advantage because black have no counterplay for these bad pawns. So here, okay, I analyze a little bit how to continue after bishop take d3. Of course, it's not easy to create huge advantage, but white is clearly better. King e2, knight h3, knight a4. The idea of knight a4 is make the root, play b3, and then and later came to f4 in this way. f5 at the same time that we are more or less stopping the breakthrough of c5. f5 would move. Rook c1, rook e8, g3. Okay, that could be a normal continuation of the game. Both players have made the best move in my analysis. I watched it with the machine, but that's the correct placement for both sides. Because okay, the principal idea of this game is show us how to win the endgame with white, but it's important to know how to play with black too. If you reach first, you don't first here don't trade on the three. But okay, if you trade for some reason, I don't know why, later you know that you should play the knight on d7, the pawn on a5, the pawn on f5, and the knight on f6 and e4. And just wait with the rooks. The rook on g8 is fine, and with the a rook, just wait. White is going to improve his king to g2, and later let's see if he can enter in somewhere. But okay, uh, his opponent, of course, was intelligent, and he played knight d7. But here, I told that we want to trade the bishop pair, but not trade on g6. Because after f8, now the black pawn structure is fine, and here black have no problems. So we want to trade in our terms without fix the black pawn structure. 92, good move, going to h4. I'm going to show us more or less fast a game of Faustino Oro, the chess prodigy against Irina Bulmaga in Tata Steel some months ago, because I think that this is very interesting to learn about the Bulmaga mistake. A5 here, good move. Now Faustino came with knight e2. His idea is, of course, knight f4, king e7, knight f4. And here, Bulbaga made a huge mistake, a huge positional mistake. Okay, the machine doesn't say that it's horrible. Of course, the machine criticized the move. But positionally, this move have no sense. Irina Bulmaga plays bishop f4. The problem of this move is that here we'll have two knights and only one square for the knights. The good square for the knight is f4. But white only have one, two, but blah. White have two knights and only one square for the knight. So why? So now the knight on e2 is not making nothing because you only have one square. So why you give your bishop pair and your good bishop, who is the d6 bishop, which a great bishop is defending everything. You give your good bishop, but you're not trading your d6 bishop for the f4 knight, who looks. You're trading the d6 bishop for the e2 knight. That's the huge problem. The e2 knight who have no sense here is not making nothing, and you're trading your good bishop on d6 for your e2 knight. A very strange move for free Bulmaga. And okay, I'm going to show us more or less fast how Faustino won this game. Very good breakthrough here, e4, placing the king in the center. Here, king f3 was stronger. But okay, yeah, let's see more or less fast how Faustino won the game. But this all because the strange move bishop d6. Bishop takes f4, sorry. So okay, that's I understand that with black you shouldn't take on f4 if white can recapture with a knight, of course. And here, Kigiga make a very strange move. Here he played b5. The problem of b5 is that if that now your c6 pawn is going to be weak forever. And yes, you give a new weakness for free because black white doesn't force you to create a weaknesses and you create the weakness. So here e5, a5 was the golden move. I explained in some videos that this is a good placement of the pawns in the queen side, and when you have pawns on d5, c6, b7, well, it used to be fine to advance the other pawn to a5 because okay, this pawn is covering b4 and the other pawn covered b5. So there are no okay, b6 is the only weak as well, but you should advance. But a5 is a very good move. Here now the plan is knight b6 and rook g8. But b5 I don't like because now the 6 pawn is going to be weak forever. Rook c1, great move, putting pressure over this pawn. Knight b6. Now another very good move b3, just black wants knight c4, and we just stop. The machine like e4 too. So the machine prefer b3, but he told about e4. But here I don't like e4 because you are giving counterplay for black without necessity. For example, bishop e4 you can take and g3. So okay, e4 is playable for white, but I don't like the idea of give counterplay for free. Here we have a position where only white can win. Black have no active plans, just try to hold and defend. So always it's easier to play a position where it's a position of two results. You are the only player who are playing to win. It's or you win or if you opponent manage to defend well, it's going to be draw. But we have no active plans to try to push. So b3 very good move, a5, and second great move, a4, fixing this pawn on a5, taking space and apart not allowing a4. So very good move a4. And here black has two ways to play, or with b4 or with b takes a4. If b4, here we are going to make the route of the knight to reach d3, knight d1, knight b2, g3, bishop c2, and knight d3. Finally, the knight lands on d3, and later it's going to get to f4. Example, bishop d3 here is a bad move. It's not good. King c7 is better. And now rook f1. Now rook c1 is coming, and knight f4 is coming. So that's what could happen if black plays b4. Bit takes a4 was fine. Knight a4, bishop b4. Here was the only inaccuracy of Donchenko. knight a c3 was stronger. But okay, he played king c2, which is a good move with the idea of king 2b2 with the king. Knight takes, rook c8, knight f4. Good, attacking this bishop and one day attacking this pawn. Here, Kiga made the decisive mistake, which is just a horrible move, with b5, f5, sorry. f5 is horrible because you are completely blockading your bishop. Now, like white is playing with two pieces and you're playing with the other one, and the g6 bishop is now he doesn't play. It's like a rook, no, but not a rook, like a rook of a fucking rook of the street, or like a or like a huge pawn. The g6 bishop is a huge pawn, or a fat pawn, whatever you want to talk. But this is not a bishop. The g6 bishop is not a bishop. It's everything except a bishop. So f5 a horrible move. And okay, Donchenko just won in 4 moves more. Uh, let's see here black should play or rook g8. Sorry, or rook g8 just defending the bishop. And here, okay, g3, and they're still playing quietly, and white is better, of course. Like I told you, this pawn is weak. This pawn is weak. This pawn is a double. So very good. White here has a great pleasant position. Bishop b4 was another possibility. Trade here is not my favorite move. I didn't want to trade here on e4. It's possible, but I don't like. I prefer king d1, attacking c6, and now g3. Just defending the pawn and still playing more quietly. But okay, after f5 horrible blunder, let's see, like Donchenko just won in 4 moves. Just king b2, threatening knight d5. That's one of the problems of half play b5, that now the c6 pawn is weak. King d7, bishop e2. Now bishop e2 is attacking h5, so you cannot move the rook. h3. Here, I really like what Donchenko do instead of uh, apart. He's giving the d3 square for the knight to came to e5. That's the another idea of bishop e2. Rook e8, and here Donchenko instead of take on h5 directly, he just played g3. Now white is threatening take here, and okay, if you return, white can play knight d3, then knight 95, or okay, or take the bishop, of course, and white is completely winning. But okay, here Kiga just blunder again, but the position is completely lost. Let's understand that the h5 pawn is weak, 93 is coming, so black have no active plans. That's one of the problems of designing in the cash, but that here black have no active plans. He only should defend the position. So okay, I don't like designing for black. That's the truth. But okay, after rook c7, just bishop 95, and Kiki can resign, because if you take here now bishop b5, move the king, take the rook, and take the rook, and white have an exchange up. So that's the game. Donchenko advanced to the next round in the World Cup. I hope that you learn with the game, and I hope that you learn how to play the endgame of the Carslbad. There are many Grandmaster games in this endgame. I really like the game of Faustino because it's so instructive to learn about the mistake of bishop takes f4 of Bulmaga. And Magnus Carlsen had played this endgame in the past, so maybe one day I'm going to analyze the Magnus Carlsen game. So let's see how continue the World Cup, and see you motherfuckers. Bye bye.